Hi, it's Taxis Chronicles, and I'm your host, Simon Rushton. Today we have a lovely lady who's a GP, that's a general practitioner, and I passed a comment about 5G and her renewing her phone, and then she went into one explaining about the effects of 5G, and, well, you know what, I'll let her tell the story. Gives the explanation. The journey's only 8 minutes left, so it's not going to be that long. So say what you were saying again about how the 5G and the pull of the moon.
Okay. So what I was saying is that there are a lot of like conspiracy theories around, and the 5G one, I don't think we can just throw it out the window. I don't think it's so bad, but our bodies are made of water, and electrical charge does affect it. There's a lot of processes that are electric in our body. I don't think we can go backwards in time and undo Wi-Fi and undo these things, but I think it's worthwhile looking at the impact different things like electrical charges have on health.
Do you know if the government's done a real research? Is it something like the vaccine when they're just trying to push it out at lastminute.com? Do you know if they've done research on?
I don't. I haven't actually. I've looked into it a little bit just when it first came out, but I don't know too much about it. I don't think you can stop progress. So even if you did research and you found out that there was like a small negative, contribution of what you were going to change, sometimes you just have to make progress.
Even at the risk of death.
Well, like with vaccines, the risk of death is worse if you don't have the vaccine.
So does that say you'd be having a vaccine then?
I'm on the fence for a corona one because they just don't know enough about it yet.
Okay.
But something like measles, then I would. I mean, there was a measles outbreak recently in London, and there were kids in hospital very, very seriously ill. The side effects, I know there's been sort of the anti-vax campaigns have talked about autism and all sorts of things, but
you spoke about the moon and the pool and people dying.
Oh yeah, so it was just something, it was just interesting that at certain times, like for example at full moon time, there are more heart attacks, for example. And it sounds silly, but there are historical kind of stories and fables, like let's say the werewolf fable, that there must be some kind of a basis for things to become, like it might happen a few times and then it becomes a story. It doesn't come out of nowhere. And that might have been a very old-fashioned way of describing that the pull of the moon does affect people's physiology.
Okay. What I understand about this 5G, it affects the blood cells that carry oxygen. And because it affects the blood cells that carry oxygen, when coronavirus or any virus, it makes you more vulnerable to the virus, and that's what people are scared of, and that's what I hear a lot of people, like out of 10 people, 8 people say they believe this virus is man-made and they agree with the 5G is dangerous. Whether they're laymen or experts, they do get, a couple of people say no. But it is strange that the government, who's turned off, if you talk about 5G or the virus and the negative thing on YouTube now, it gets taken off. And that kind of says something in my eyes. What's your take?
So the first part about the 5G and what you've read, I've read something else, so there we go. We also, have there's very different views on it. I read an article by this professor who said that he was looking at sort of massive outbreaks and pandemics, and he saw a correlation, like the Spanish flu. I can't remember if it was I can't remember, but something like radio, let's say, came out. So there's different waves in the air, and his theory is that viruses are a mutation of cells. So if any kind of, you've got an external influencer on the body and the cells mutate, he was saying in his article that that's how viruses are essentially born. Now other people say viruses are, you know, ancient and they've developed themselves and they're almost their own organism that came out of something. So I don't know about the oxygen, and I haven't read that. In terms of things getting taken off the internet, I totally believe in free speech, but I think when people are fearful, they can react. Like, you've seen people burning down masks. That doesn't help anyone. It doesn't solve anything to go burn a mask down.
It sends a message to the government that we're not happy, and if they want to pursue this, they're going to have to convince us that this is safe.
Yeah.
Not by dictatorship, which what they're doing now.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you do need research and it needs to be public, but I can understand why they didn't want people in this really difficult situation being led to believe something that may not be true, because there isn't open research as far as I know. There's a lot of websites who have shut it down and given their evidence, but again, I haven't looked into it that much.
Okay. Yeah.
But yeah, I'm totally free speech, and also different angles and different opinions. It's how you learn. It's how you sort of right wrongs of thinking, you know.
But then, what I hear again and again is that these 5G is not a key worker's job. So why on earth are they doing this all over at a pandemic time? They should be, and it's like it's it's more than a coincidence that they're rolling this out. And I'll give you an example. I saw videos of the Chinese epidemic in the Wuhan, and I saw people convulsing, blood coming on them out their face, and then they just face planted the floor. I haven't seen anything like that in England. Now they say Wuhan was the first place that they started the 5G, tested the 5G. And that was the effects because of this blood and the oxygen and all the rest of it. I don't know, I'm not a doctor. But
I don't think even doctors know.
Okay. That's what is a lot of what people are saying. It's like, look at this.
Yeah.
Why are people not dying in the same manner over there as they are here?
The problem is you've got so much fake news. Like, it's really hard to know what to believe these days, and unless it's a really open discussion and you have trials and research that's available to the public, it's really difficult to say. I also saw some videos at the beginning of the sort of pandemic where they had people in the street who were just keeling over, but not the blood and everything. No.
In Wuhan.
Yeah, but it wasn't dated. It could have been from any time, someone just flopping over in the street. That's the problem now, is you don't know what to believe.
But then I would say this: we start to believe anything because the government is not telling us the truth. It's not being transparent. They're trying to treat us like children. So as children, you know, when you suspect your parents telling a lie, you go and investigate yourself.
Like the tooth fairy.
Yeah.
It's in history, there's propaganda, so it's not unreasonable to think that certain bodies will hold information and not share it, because historically it's happened. So yeah, I don't think it's unreasonable just to be suspicious or want to know more.
As a GP, I picked up a GP the other day, and he was telling me how the government's going to change their system of like triage and make sure everybody has to have a phone call before you go into the GP from now on, because they realise it's so a lot. He said 80% of the people who go to the GP don't really need to go. What do you think about that? Do you reckon that's going to be the same thing as a GP?
So they can do telephone and video, and then bring in people who need examining.
Do you think that's the future? Do you think that's going to be, after all this academic's over, do you think in future you won't be able to just go to your,
Just pop in.
yeah, you'll have to go through like a systematic
I
process
think
of
that
phone
will.
calls.
I think that will be around for a little while.
Okay.
I don't know if it's the future per se, but a lot of people do stop in at a GP, and I think it's slightly different nowadays where you have so many more people, and you do want a GP to be safe, and you want it to be somewhere where you go to heal, not to pick up disease. So I think there's a good argument for things that can be solved over the phone, like a prescription, that doesn't require someone coming through.
Okay. So the future could be bright in certain ways.
I think lots of the people we've been talking to are really happy that they can do things over the phone. It's really efficient, saves them a trip. You know, the scripts can be sent straight to a pharmacy, they can be delivered, they can be collected. It makes other people's lives easier.
Oh, yeah. That's what he said. He said most of the diagnoses, I'm probably saying it wrong, are through people's symptoms. So you find out really what's going on with them from their, like, whether they got headaches, whether they've got rash, or nausea, or things like that. And then you can kind of prescribe based on that. I think that's what he was saying. I'm not the best when it comes to the medical industry. But yeah, it's been interesting talking to you. Thanks for the information.
Thank you.
And guys, there you have it from a fully fledged experienced GP, an anonymous GP, but a very nice lady as it goes. Why don't you also check out my other podcast, Africa Investing Stories, for those investors who've invested in Africa or who want to invest in Africa. We're on Google and iTunes and all the rest of the platforms out there. So give us a listen and like and share. Thank you. All right.